It is the 20th of July 2024. Welcome to this edition of Yes 101's Visual Radio. I'm Wickramaratne. Let's start off with your news here at home. President's Counsel Dr. Wickramaratne has issued a clarification over a statement made by President Ranil Wickramasinhe yesterday, claiming that the failure to amend Article 83B of the Constitution was a lapse on his part. Dr. Wickramaratne referred to a statement by President Ranil Wickramasinhe yesterday that not reducing the upper limit of the term of the President and Parliament from 6 to 5 years while preparing the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was a lapse on his part due to inexperience. Dr. Wickramaratne expressed regret that President Ranil Wickramasinhe thought it fit to place the entire blame on him for not reducing the upper limits of the President's and Parliament's terms. Responding to the statement by the President, he said that the presidential candidate at the time, Maithripala Sirisena, signed a memorandum of understanding in which he pledged to not make any constitutional change requiring a referendum. Sirisena's election manifesto also said that no constitutional reform necessitating a referendum would be initiated. Now, soon after being sworn in, President Sirisena appointed Ranil Wickramasinhe as Prime Minister, while Constitutional Affairs was gazetted as a subject under Prime Minister Wickramasinhe. Thereafter, a cabinet subcommittee headed by Premier Wickramasinhe was appointed to oversee the 19th Amendment process. The entire drafting process was carried out on the basis that the bill should not be placed for approval at a referendum, in keeping with President Sirisena's electoral pledge. While the terms of the President and the Parliament were proposed to be reduced from 6 to 5 years, the upper limit of 6 years was not touched, as that would require a referendum. He also went on to add that the several drafts prepared were all shared and discussed with the Cabinet Subcommittee. The draft finally approved by the Cabinet Subcommittee was then sent to the legal draftman, who took over as required by law and made some changes. It was then sent to the Attorney General, who took view that certain clauses, especially some that reduced the powers of the President, would require a referendum. Prime Minister Wickramasinhe had several meetings with the Attorney General to discuss this matter, in which he had participated as well. Several changes had to be made to the bill because of the Attorney General's position. Prime Minister Wickramasinhe presented the bill to the Parliament. It was then challenged in the Supreme Court, and the Attorney General argued on behalf of the government that no provision required a referendum. He highlighted that the clauses that the Supreme Court held to require a referendum were either amended or withdrawn in Parliament. Dr. Wickramaratne reiterated that the entire amendment process was based on avoiding a referendum following President Sirisena's pledge at the presidential election. Meanwhile, the Election Commission of Sri Lanka has said that the governors of the western and northwestern provinces have not yet cancelled the appointments given to the former heads of local government bodies for district coordination committees. The NEC said that since the local authorities' election ordinance is in force and the presidential election date is soon to be announced, 3 notices have already been given to the governors requesting them to cancel the relevant appointments. The Election Commission further highlighted that 2 teams will be deployed to the offices of the governors on Monday to look into why there has been no response from them. However, in response to the request sent by the Election Commission, the governors of the southern and eastern provinces recently cancelled the relevant illegal appointments. Meanwhile, the Election Commission has directed the Women's Bureau to halt their program of informing members of provincial women's organizations. The NEC said that this decision was taken in response to complaints received from various sources, including election monitoring organizations. On to some more local news now. 2 fishing vessels along with 6 fishermen who set sail from Hambantota and Jaffna are reported missing. Director General of the Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, Susanta Kahavatta, said that 2 fishermen who set sail from the Hambantota harbour on the 7th of July are currently missing. Search efforts are underway with multiple vessels deployed to locate 2 missing fishermen, both aged 54 and 52. He added that another vessel with 4 fishermen that departed from the Jaffna Point Pedro fishing harbour on the 7th of July is missing as well. Let's now take a look at international news.
International news.
Bangladesh has announced the imposition of a curfew and the deployment of military forces after days of clashes at protests against government job quotas across the country. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's press secretary Naimul Islam Khan told foreign media that the government had decided to impose a curfew and deploy the military in aid of the civilian authorities, adding that the curfew would take immediate effect. Police in the capital Dhaka earlier banned all public gatherings for the day, a first since protests began, to forestall more violence. However, that did not stop another round of confrontations between police and protesters around the sprawling city of 20 million people, despite an internet shutdown aimed at frustrating the organization of rallies. Coming up next is Sports News.
Sports News.
Former major champion Shane Lowry holds a two-shot lead at the halfway stage of the 152nd Open as Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods were among the stars to miss the cut at a windy Royal Troon. The Irishman followed an opening round 66, the best part of his major career, with a 2 under 69 on Friday morning to move on to 7 under and bolster his hopes of a second Open victory, 5 years on from his impressive breakthrough success at Royal Troon. Lowry's closest challenge comes from former world number 1 Justin Rose and fellow Englishman Dan Brown, who led after the opening round of his major debut. And with that, we bring to a close this edition of Yes 101's Visual Radio. I'm Wickramaratne. Thank you for watching.